They are talking about the performance of that particular participant. Now, the thing is, there's a one fundamental difference between judging and evaluation. As a judge, you are supposed to declare the results. You are supposed to tell who is the winner, who is not the winner. However, as an evaluator, your only job, your only job is to help the speaker. That how that speaker can get better in his or her next performance. So a lot of times we get confused that, oh, we are supposed to judge that person. So we come up with 10 recommendations, we try to pretend that we are super good in evaluating, but at times we're not evaluating, we are judging. So we are not supposed to judge, we are supposed to evaluate. Now, how many of you are aware of this approach that we use for evaluation called CRC? Just raise of hands. Oh, very few. That's surprising. Okay, now imagine this. How many of you are married? Okay, 3 of you. So, sir, imagine you go home and your wife asks. She's very angry. She's very mad at you, and she asks you certain questions like, "Did you drink?" And you were drunk.
Okay.
So, how do you think you would retaliate to that? She comes at you, she starts blasting that, oh no, you're a pathetic person, you're supposed to change this about you, you're supposed to do that, do. How do you think it would affect you?
No, I would first accept that I'm drunk after a hard day's work. I had some drinks,
Okay.
and then what was the question?
But let's say that she's just blasting at you.
Okay.
She's just saying, no, you don't care, you don't listen to me, and you're supposed to change this about you, you're supposed to do that. She's just blasting at you. How do you think you're gonna feel at that
I think
point?
that happens quite often.
Okay, wrong example. Okay, any students. So we all have been students of life and in school or college also.
Yeah.
Now imagine this. We have had encounters with certain teachers with whom we don't have fond memories with. I'll share my experience. I particularly hated my maths teacher of my 12th grade because she used to make sure that I was embarrassed in front of all of the students. She used to pinpoint each and every mistake that I did, and I used to be very frustrated. Even till date, if she comes in front of me, I'll just walk away. That is the kind of impression she has till date. Her intentions might be very good. Her intentions might be so that I become a better person, although I got several backs in my maths probably because of that teacher. But how the person is communicating how you are supposed to improve, that matters a lot. So in Toastmasters, we use this approach by the name of CRCS. So what does it mean? C stands for commendation, R stands for recommendation, and C stands for commendation again, and S stands for summary. So what we do whenever we go on stage to evaluate something or some speaker, what we do, we start by talking about the good parts of that speech, followed by how that speaker could do better, what we call as recommendations, and then we start talking about a little bit of positive part of that speaker's speech, and then in the end we summarize the entire evaluation that we did. So this is called CRC approach. Now, if you are thinking that you are just supposed to use CRC in this particular section in Toastmasters, you're absolutely wrong. You can use it when you have to talk to your boss, talk to your spouse, talk to your friends, anywhere. So let's say that you are frustrated with your boss and you're supposed to communicate that message that that's something that he or she is supposed to change. Or obviously if you just go there, boss, you suck, if you go like that, of course he is going to kick you and you'll be out of the organization. However, if you go to your boss, start by talking, hey boss, I really love the tie that you're wearing, and the fragrance that you have is really nice. But I was thinking that the list of work that you have given to me, I think it's a little too much. If you can just reduce that a little bit, I feel it will be really helpful. So you know that you're communicating the same thing. However, you have changed your approach, that how you are communicating that. Now, what happens? CRC is done. 3 mistakes that evaluators do and you should avoid. So those 3 things are: number 1, at times evaluators are too cheesy. Like too cheesy. So they come on stage, they talk about on all the flowery language, and the speaker was this, that, he was Barack Obama, he was Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump is not a good speaker. But you know, they use all kind of flowery languages which looks fake. And while I understand that we are supposed to motivate the speaker, but we can do it in a genuine way. So do not be too flowery with your words if you do not feel that. The second mistake that people do is they excessively talk about the recommendations. So there was this, I don't remember which meeting I went to. The evaluator came and he gave 12 recommendations to the speaker. 12 recommendations. So I feel that whenever you are giving recommendations to the speaker, they should be limited to 2, maximum 3. Maximum 3 recommendations. Because you also need to understand that we all are humans and we have our own absorption capability. Even today, if I stand here in my 7 years of journey, there are several aspects of my speech that I want to rectify. However, if a speaker is coming on stage and telling 10 wrong things about me, I may not be able to focus that what are the first initial things I need to focus on. So always give recommendations which you feel are the most important. 2 recommendations I recommend. Okay, now let's come to the evaluation ballot, and I'm not talking in terms of the contest, I'm talking in terms of when the speaker steps on stage and when you are there. The third mistake which people do is they do not make the ballot before the evaluation. So what a lot of you must be doing, the speaker comes on stage and you are just writing good parts and you are making your own notes, and maybe during the break you are consolidating the entire evaluation. So this is one thing which I used to do. However, a more productive way to do this is that you make your own ballot before the speaker even gets on stage. So I take a A4 sheet, and what I do is, so imagine, is it okay if I write this? I'll just take my handwriting bad.
Keep it like that. When we see, just keep it like that only. Once we see, then we can.
Okay, so imagine. So imagine this is A4 sheet. In the first 3-4 lines, what you do, you leave those 3 lines empty. Then you are supposed to write strength. Okay. Then you leave 2-3 more lines. In the center of the page, write content. Then you divide the entire page in 2 parts. On the left side, write C, which means commendations. On the right side, you write R, which means recommendation. Then leave few more lines and write delivery in the center. Delivery in the center. Again, you divide the page in 2 parts. C for commendations here and R recommendations here. Now the thing is, this is way better. So what I do, my ballot is already pre-ready before the speaker is on stage. So it helps me give a structure to my evaluation already. Because when you are taking the notes, you are already in a lot of pressure. Because the speaker is continuously speaking, you are making notes, then you have to consolidate, then you also have to present your report. So to reduce your efforts, make the ballot before the speaker even steps on stage. So this is the format of the ballot which I follow. You can choose your own ballot. So how I structure my evaluation. Whenever I come on stage, I pick up one instance from the speaker's speech. I compare it with an analogy. So for instance, Toastmaster Paras came on stage and he talked about COVID times. While I was listening to his speech, I thought that his speech was just like a delicious dish. A dish which had a lot of sprinkles of different spices. So talking about the good part of his speech. So the reason I use this analogy is because, so comparing the speaker's speech with some unusual topic kinds of adds innovation to your evaluation. So you can compare the speaker's speech to a beautiful painting. You can compare the speaker's speech to probably it was like a good road trip. So anything. So this is a part where you can use your creativity, where you are using the traditional you're comparing the speech to an unusual topic. So what I do, I come on stage. I start by introducing my analogy. So let's say here my analogy was that I was comparing the speech to a delicious dish. Now what I do, as soon as I do it in the initial few seconds, then I greet the audience. A very good evening to friends and family of Toastmasters Club of New Delhi. Now let me start my evaluation by telling the biggest strength of the speaker. Now here what you are doing is, whatever you felt in your personal opinion was the biggest strength of the speaker, mention that in the very beginning. That is why I had made you write strength in the early lines. So whatever you feel, it could be the biggest strength of the speaker is his or her voice. It is his or her dressing sense. It is the way he or she narrated the story. Anything which you feel or you felt at that point of time was the biggest strength of the speaker, mention that. Then, after I do that, I specifically highlight the fact that for the benefit of the speaker, I have divided my evaluation into two categories: content and delivery. So, if you fundamentally break down a speech, there are just two aspects to any speech. One is the content and other is the delivery. There is no third thing. Everything, every aspect of a speech gets covered under these two categories. So I specifically make sure and I announce it in advance that I have divided my evaluation in content and delivery. Then I start talking about the good parts of the content. So in content you can talk about the storytelling, the transitions, the message the speaker talked about, some characters he must have mentioned. So everything that relates to content, mention about that. Mention the good parts of that. Commendations. Then you switch to delivery. Then you start talking about the good parts of the delivery of that particular speaker. So delivery includes voice modulation. Voice modulation has again volume, pitch, and then you can talk about the expressions. You can talk about the stage movement. You can talk about characterization. You can so everything that is related to delivery of that particular speaker, which you specifically like, talk about it in the commendation part. Now, when you are supposed to give your recommendation, just give two recommendations. One related to content and one related to delivery. That's it. That's it. Now, once you have given the recommendations, after giving the recommendations, you again highlight certain good aspects of the speaker. So again, from by giving the recommendations, you have again shifted to the positive parts of the speech. So it is an encouraging tone towards the speaker. And then finally, you summarize your entire evaluation. So this is a generic format which I follow, and you can use analogy or maybe you cannot use analogy. That is completely up to you. But using analogy adds a little bit of innovation to your evaluation, which will help you stand out from the rest of the evaluations. So this is the part where you can try your own creativity, and you can this analogy can help you stand out. Now let's come to let me see. Yeah. So once we are through with our evaluation, now you need to understand from a contest point of view. Now let's come to the contest. We talked about the generic evaluation parameters. We talked about that. Now let's come to the contest. How many of you have previously participated in evaluation contest, specifically evaluation contest? Okay. Now, in evaluation contest, whenever, let's say there are 10 participants, they come on stage, they present their evaluations. Now there are certain judges that are sitting in the audience. Those are anonymous. You won't be knowing about those judges. Now they have a judging ballot. So you can find the judging ballot. Probably Ashish, you can share it in the group itself of TMND. So there is a judging ballot for the evaluation contest that is there. Now it has certain marks allocated to it. So the ballot is divided into 4 sections. President will share with all of you, but for your convenience, I am announcing that. The number one, the first part of the ballot is analytical quality. The second part is recommendations. How were your recommendations? The third part is the technique the speaker used or the evaluator used, and the fourth is summation. So these are the this is the ballot on which all the evaluators who are coming on stage are marked by these judges. Now, if you talk about the analytical quality, analytical quality carries 40% weightage. Like how analytical you were while analyzing the speech of the speaker, how beautifully you were able to identify certain details. So this carries 40% of the entire ballot. Then comes recommendations. Now you need to understand from contest point of view that there is just one speaker and all the evaluators are supposed to evaluate that one speaker only. There are no different speakers. So there is just one speaker. So what happens is, what you are supposed to do, you have to identify what different recommendations you can give. Now imagine this, there are 10 evaluators, and if the speaker did not have good stage movements, the maximum evaluators will try to mention that the speaker could have done better in terms of stage movement. However, you are not supposed to do that. Try to bring out certain different recommendations which you feel other evaluators might ignore. So that carries 30% of the weightage in the evaluation ballot. Coming to the technique, so what was the technique that you used? Were you motivational? Were you sympathetic towards the speaker? This carries 15%. And finally, how you have summarized your entire evaluation, that also carries 15% of the marks of the entire ballot. So this is the evaluation ballot on which the judges will be marking you guys. So from contest point of view, I would thoroughly suggest all of you to go through this evaluation ballot, and I can see the red card, so I can probably take 1 or 2 questions if you guys have any, or we can connect offline also. Thank you.